Are we ready? The Municipality of Anchorage Platting Board will now come to order November 21st. It is now 6:30 p.m. May we have roll call?
Becky Lipson.
Present.
Clayton Walker.
Present.
Don Porter.
Present.
Kevin Cross.
Present.
Mark Seward.
Present.
Valerie Ritz.
Present.
Dan Young, Christina Enix, and Jenna Wilson are excused. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a quorum. May I have a motion to approve the action summaries from Wednesday, October 3rd? Kevin Cross has moved and Don Porter has seconded. Is there any opposition to approving the action summary? Seeing none, the motion passes. Next, we'll have the motion, we'll take up the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd, 2018? Don Porter has moved and Valerie Ritz has seconded. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made? Seeing none, is there anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. We'll now take up special order of business with disclosures. Becky Lipson.
Thank you. I have 3 disclosures to make in case S12435. I've had no involvement with this specific platting action, and I have no present financial interest as my law firm was not retained in this matter. However, I have spoken with one of the landowners involved. But I would request to be allowed to participate as we weren't retained, and I genuinely don't have any knowledge about this. In case S12376, the petitioner is a past client of my firm's. I've had no involvement with petitioner, and I have no knowledge about this platting action, and he has no active cases. I have no financial motive, and I would ask to again be allowed to participate in that matter. In regards to case S12438, I have had involvement with this case and in regards to this subdivision, and would ask to not participate given my knowledge of this matter. And that is all.
I need to have 3 separate motions? Yep. Yep, we'd like to have, may I have a motion directing Becky Lipson to participate in case S12435, Corner Rock Properties. Kevin has moved and Don Porter has seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion, Mr. Cross?
Regarding case S12435, Corner Subdivision, this is just a first-time extension request. I move that Becky Lipson participate. She said she has no financial interest, no previous knowledge, and although she's spoken to the client, it was on separate matters, and she can remain partisan.
Okay. And is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, that motion passes. Becky Lipson, you are directed to participate in case S12435, Corner Rock Properties. Next, we'll take up, may I have a motion for directing Becky Lipson to participate in case S12376, Joe Vicente's Denina Partnership. Kevin Cross has made the motion, which is seconded by Valerie Ritz. Would you like to speak to your motion, Mr. Cross?
In the case of S12376, Eagle Point Subdivision Time Extension, I will be moving for Becky Lipson to participate. Although this individual is a past client, she has had no conversations regarding this project, no previous knowledge, has no financial interest, and can remain partial.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, that motion passes. And now we will take up motion directing Becky Lipscomb to participate in, let's step back 1 minute. Becky Lipscomb, you're directed to participate in case S12376. Now we'll take up a motion for your participation in S12338. Kevin Cross has made the motion. Mark Seward has seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion, Mr. Cross?
In the case of S12438 Upland Subdivision, a move to have Becky Lipson participate. I will not be voting for this movement. She says she has previous knowledge and a financial interest in this case, so I will be voting negative on that movement.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on that motion? Seeing none, is there anyone in favor of the motion? No one in favor, then it fails unanimously. Becky Lipscomb, you're directed to not participate in case S12438 Upland Subdivision.
Through the chair,
Yes.
will we have a quorum on that one since Becky will be stepping away? Do we have enough? We'll have
Yes.
5. Okay, excellent. Good, thank you.
Yeah, that was. Was it 338 or 438, Ms. Lipscomb? Okay, 438. I'm the one who misspoke on that. Are there any other disclosures this evening? Ms. Valerie Ritz.
Hi, I was just disclosing that I know somebody sitting in the audience and had an outside discussion with them regarding something not relating to this case.
Or related to any case before us
No.
tonight? Thank you. That disclosure is acknowledged. Thank you. Anything else? Seeing no other request to make disclosures, we will now consider the informational item, abbreviated Platts action summary from October 22nd, 2018. The minutes will recognize that we have looked at that. We'll now move to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Kevin Cross has made the motion to approve the consent agenda, and that's been seconded by Valerie Ritz. Is there any request to remove either of these items from the consent agenda? Seeing no request to remove any item from the consent agenda, is there anyone opposed to approving the consent agenda? Seeing no opposition, the agenda has been approved. Is that adequate for you? Is that fine for you? Is that adequate for what you need? Okay. We will now move to the new business and take up public hearing, case S12436. And in that regards, the Platting Board meets each month on the first and third Wednesday, except holidays, as regular meetings. If we fail to complete our agenda at this meeting, we will carry over the remainder of the agenda to the next meeting. The procedure by which the public is allowed to speak at the Platting Board meeting is after the staff's presentation is complete on a public hearing item. We will then ask for public testimony in an issue. People who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Commission Rule of Procedure. Petitioners and their representatives go first. They're given 10 minutes. They may reserve part of their time for rebuttal. Next become representatives of groups, community councils, and PTAs. They're given 5 minutes. And last are the individuals that have 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, the board may ask you questions. You may only testify once on an issue unless the board questions you further on a matter. Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action we take. appeal of this decision or any of the conditions is governed by Anchorage Municipal Code 2111-304, and the decision of the board at the scheduled public hearing becomes final 7 days after the decision is made on the record. Unless someone requests a written request is submitted to the Planning Division prior to the expiration of the 7th day for us to prepare a written decision based upon the record we make at this meeting, and that request is accompanied by a notice of intent to appeal. Adoption of the written decision by the Platting Board becomes the final appealable decision, and within 20 days of that final appealable decision, an interested party must file with the municipal clerk either a written motion alleging new evidence or changed circumstances pursuant to Anchorage Municipal Code 21.11.503, or an appeal of the board's final appealable decision under AMC 2130. With that, we will now take up case S12436, David Jensen's matter. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request from the owners of lots 1 and 2 Cabin Creek subdivision to remove Note 2 from Plat 92-44. Note 2 states, quote, lots 1 and 2 are limited to 3-bedroom structures, end quote. The 3 approval criteria for modification or removal of a plat note have been met. This case was noticed. The Planning Department sent 103 public hearing notices, and 4 comments were received, all in support of the petitioner's request. Also, there's support from the Huffman O'Malley Community Council. Therefore, the Planning Department's recommending deletion of the plat note. It's overly restrictive and unnecessary. The properties are already developed, and the on-site systems and wells have been certified by on-site water and wastewater services. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, does the board have any questions of staff at this time? Thank you. We'll now open the matter up for public comment. We have petitioner's representative.
Thank you very much. I am David Jensen, Jensen, and I wanted to echo some of the comments by staff. We have full approval of the Community Council, as well as somehow Rabbit Creek Community Council chimed in on that, and they offered no objection. So our neighbors, we have 4 houses on our property, or on our cul-de-sac, all are in full support of this. It was an error made in about 1993, where we believe it originally said 4 bedrooms, and at some point somebody along in this past 25 years whited out that and hand wrote 3 in instead of whatever number happened to exist prior to that. So this will allow us to be able to sell our homes if we ever choose to do that, or make other modifications to our homes, because currently we're unable to do that without a lot of hoops. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, does the board have any questions of Mr. Jensen? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You'll have 9 minutes and 12 seconds for rebuttal. Are there any members of the public that wish to come and speak on this matter? Seeing none and hearing none, would you like to use any of your time in rebuttal? With that, we'll close the public hearing and the matter rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the Don Porter, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, in the matter of case S12436, Cabin by the Creek subdivision, I move that we approve this request for deletion of the note.
Note 2 from Plat 9244?
Correct.
Okay. And Valerie Ritz has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I intend to support this motion as it's been demonstrated that is capable of supporting a 4-bedroom house. It was built prior to the note, and not only that, but there is adequate documentation that this is supported by the public. So I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Kevin Cross.
I'd also like to say I will be supporting the motion. I would like to take note that staff has stated it is considered overly restrictive and unnecessary and no negative impact to surrounding properties.
Thank you. Any other comments? Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. We will now take up case S12434, Spring Creek Dowling LLC. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request to subdivide one lot into two lots. This request is before the board because the underlying plat was processed as an abbreviated plat and recorded within the past 48 months. The petition site is located northwest of the intersection of Lake Otis Parkway and East Dowling Road in Anchorage. The purpose of this platting action is to further subdivide a recently platted parcel to accommodate the development of a senior housing facility and other commercial or residential uses. The petition site is zoned B3. The proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width requirements of Anchorage Municipal Code. There were no objections by reviewing agencies to this platting action, and improvements to abutting right-of-ways are not being requested at this time. The preliminary plat appears to generally conform to the petition site's classification of commercial corridor neighborhood center as shown in the 2040 Anchorage land use plan map, as well as the following land use policies. Land use policy 3.2, 4.2, and 6.2. And the department recommends approval subject to the conditions as stated on page 7 of the staff packet. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, may we have petitioner's representative?
Ian Brown, P&D Engineers. I'm the surveyor of record for the plat. I've reviewed the department recommendations and comments. Looks fine to me. I have no concerns about it, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Ian Brown at this time? Looks like you have 9 minutes, 52 seconds for rebuttal. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? Any community councils, any PTAs, any individuals? Seeing and hearing none, would you like to use any of your rebuttal time? With that, we'll close the public hearing and the matter rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to conditions 1 through 5. Kevin Cross, would you like to state your motion?
In regards to case S12434 Dowling at Lake Otis Riverside Addition, we've got approval. I move to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to the following conditions: 1, 2, 2A, B, C, D, 3, 3A, 4, and 5.
Thank you. And Don Porter has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would like to note that underneath the agency comments that their Anchorage wastewater utility comments, sanitary areas are available to these parcels. This is referenced, the concerns are referenced under A2, as well as no objections from on-site water and wastewater or watershed management, fire prevention, non-motorized transport, no comment from the departments. It seems pretty straightforward. Generally speaking, when there is public comment on these items, the biggest issue is drainage. It doesn't look like we're doing anything that significantly affects drainage, and under 2A, the property owners and utilities should not raise, lower, or regrade the property in a manner that will alter drainage or patterns without prior approval from the municipality. So if there were any neighbors that were concerned about negative impact, that looks like it's being resolved under 2A.
Thank you. Are there any other findings that the board would like to offer? Any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. With that, we will now take up case S12338, Spruce Heights Subdivision Addition Number 2. May we have staff's presentation? guess it's a postponement. May I have a motion? Do I need a motion? We need a motion. May I have a motion to approve the request for postponement of case S12338? Now, we have a 338 and then a 438. So you've got one piece of paper that says F1C in the upper right-hand corner on it. Don Porter, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, in case 12338, request for postponement, I move to approve this motion.
Okay, and that's to postpone this hearing until January 2nd, 2019. And that motion has been approved by Mark Seward. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I believe it's adequate to, appropriate to give them extra time that they've requested.
Thank you. And is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. Okay. We now come up to the last item, and Becky Lipsum is going to recuse herself, but she's actually going to vacate the hearing because that's the last item on the calendar, other than we have a new calendar of hearings to be aware of. Good. And with that, you are dismissed from the hearing. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to you. May we have staff's presentation for case S12438, Upland Subdivision, Phase 3, Lots 1 through 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a request to subdivide one tract into 7 lots with a variance from AMC 2108-030 F6A, which is cul-de-sac length, to exceed 600 feet in length for a cul-de-sac measuring approximately 810.99 feet, and a variance from AMC 2108-050, which improvements, to variance to construct curb and gutter, pedestrian facilities, and street lighting to match the existing standards of Upper Lowland Avenue, which is constructed to a 20-foot wide paved street section with a 2-foot gravel shoulders. The petition site is located north of Eagle River Road and east of Upper Lowland Avenue, out in Eagle River. The subdivision request and cul-de-sac improvements variance requests are being made to prepare the property for construction of 7 single-family homes. The surrounding property is also developed with single-family residential houses, and the property to the north is owned by Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility. The subdivision meets the minimum lot size and width requirements of AMC 2110-6, that's Chugach River Residential Districts. The unnamed road, a proposed right-of-way extending from Upper Lowland Avenue west to a cul-de-sac internal to the subdivision, appears to be undeveloped where it's internal. The proposed right-of-way is shown with cul-de-sac bulb returns with a radius of 30 feet. The minimum required radius is 50 feet, so staff is requesting a condition that the petitioner resolve the radius design with private development. Staff is also requesting a condition that prior to final plat approval, the petitioner be required to enter into subdivision agreement with private development for the required public Class A improvements. Conformance with adopted plans. The preliminary plat appears to conform with the petition site's classification as shown in the 2006 Chugach River Comp Plan, Land Use Plan Map, as well as the following goals and objectives. That's land use, housing, and residential development, Goal 1A. This development will be located off Upper Lowland Avenue, a local road that connects from Stewart Drive to Eagle River Road, which is classified as a major arterial in the official streets and highways plan. Land use, housing, and residential development, objective 2D. This development pattern is consistent with other residential properties which border this site to the east, west, and south. For the variance request, the petitioner is requesting a variance from AMC 21.830 F6A, which is the cul-de-sac length, and AMC 21.08.050 improvements to construct to municipal standards for street improvements. For this project, a cul-de-sac variance is being requested to accommodate the topography of the natural features, which involves the proposed road design layout. There is no right-of-way connection out to Pruis Lane, which would be a secondary connection. The existing portion of the road, as well as other roads in the area, are currently improved to the minimum access road standard of a 20-foot wide strip paved street. AMC 2103-240G3 is the approval criteria. Staff feels that the standard is met for standard A. There are special circumstances or conditions affecting the property. For the cul-de-sac length, the existing Upper Lowland Avenue right-of-way is constructed right up to the property, and there is no connection of right-of-way to the north, south, or west. The safest road design for the development is the proposed design, which requires this variance. For the improvements, there are special circumstances that strict application of the regulations would be undesirable to the general public. Several members in attendance at the Community Council meeting expressed desire to reduce the proposed design standards, specifically the addition of lighting, curb gutter, and sidewalks to this section. B, the standards, both standards have been met for this. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare. For the cul-de-sac length, the surrounding property is developed, and granting the variance will allow the 7-lot subdivision to be built, which is compatible with the surrounding subdivision. For the improvements, the variance will provide a road to be built for that subdivision that both adequately serves the neighborhood and allows the new extension of Upper Lowland Avenue to match the existing and surrounding roads in the area. Standard C has been met. This design appears to be a reasonable alternative due to the topography features and right-of-way connection constraints. For improvements, the extension of the Upper Lowland Avenue will still be subject to a subdivision agreement for a 20-foot wide strip paved street, which matches the existing improvements for the constructed portion. Staff believes standard D has been met for both variances. For the cul-de-sac length, strict compliance of the subdivision regulations would make the property not feasible to develop. The topography limits the options for access, and connection to a secondary road does not exist. For improvements, strict compliance of those regulations would not be financially feasible for a 7-lot subdivision. Generally, reviewing agencies had either no comment or no objection to the variance requests. Staff feels that the standards are substantially met and recommends approval of the subject to the conditions found on page 12, 13, and 14 of the staff packet. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Do we have petitioner's representative here or the petitioner? We do have a short board. We only have 5 people here, so you do have a choice of postponing this until there's more people here. Or you can go ahead and go forward with the meeting with 5 people. But with 5, that you have to have, all 5 have to approve the plan.
Jacques Boutet for the petitioner. We're comfortable going forward.
Okay, thank you. And with that, would you like to make your presentation?
Thank you. Again, Jacques Boutet, Jacqueus, Boutet, Boutet. I'll be the engineer of record for the project. We are in concurrence with staff's recommendations. We apologize for the drafting error on the cul-de-sac radius, but it presents no difficulty integrating that into our final design.
Okay. And is that are you done with your presentation?
I am, yeah.
You have 9 minutes, 32 seconds for rebuttal. Do we have any questions for Jacques Boutet? Not at this time.
Thank you.
Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter tonight? Please come forward, sir. Are you with a community group or on your own?
I am a private individual.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Glenn, Glen. Last name Justice, Justis. First of all, I'd like to commend staff for catching the main concerns I had, which were the perk testing being done outside the high groundwater season in November instead of either in May or October. The other issue is the drainage. I didn't see anything in the application that dealt with Lot 1. Proof subdivision number 2, block 3, lot 1. This is where most of the drainage off of this property would pass through. I did notice that it should be connected to ADOT's right-of-way on Eagle River Road. I'll only note that south and west of Eagle River Road, there is a morainal basin there. And this is an issue it may or may not be an issue to DOT later in the season, because during spring breakup, that basin, before the ground thaws out, will retain 1 to 2 feet of water at the steepest point, and it may or may not be of an issue, like I said, to DOT. But the hardening of surfaces and the additional groundwater and surface water flow may impact them. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, does the board have any questions for Mr. Justice?
I actually do.
Mark Stewart, go ahead.
Mr. Justice, where do you live on Upper Lowland Avenue?
Who's speaking? No. I live on Pruce Lane.
Pruce Lane. Does your property abut this property?
No.
Okay.
It is not.
You're pretty much to the west side then?
I am on the corner of David and Pruce.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anything further?
Don Porter.
Yes, so are you satisfied with the current requirements that are being placed on the plat then, before drainage?
Yes, but whatever they do, that well, whether it's surface or piped subsurface, the drainage off that property will either go through the Smith property or the Lot 1 there. So there'll have to be some arrangements with those property owners. But yes, the variances don't concern me. The water issue looks like it would be resolved by connecting it to DOT's right-of-way. DOT may have an issue, but that's their problem and their decision then.
Okay. I'd actually like to read you the note. Submit to private development for review and approval a comprehensive site grading and drainage plan meeting the requirements of PM&E Department operating procedures, procured number 5, to resolve the need for drainage easements and drainage improvements to demonstrate that all post-development drainage patterns will not adversely affect adjacent properties or rights of way and include a suitable outfall. Any required drainage improvements designed per the most current DCM, Design Criteria Manual. I guess the reason I read that to you is because that's actually a pretty extensive requirement, including the requirement to prove the outfall is adequate. And so that's why I wanted to bring that to your attention.
Understood, yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, I think staff has caught the issue and resolved any concerns I would have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Sean O'Dell.
Sure, I'd just like to add to that. Watershed Management Services is very aware of that situation with Block 3, Lot 1 with Prues. And on page 13, number 5, A and B, number A is why they put that in there. Submit a construction plan for a drainage system to physically connect the natural drainage ways to the ADOT storm drain system in Eagle River Road. The drainage system must also prevent stormwater from draining onto Prues subdivision unit number 2. So they're very aware of that, and the developer will have to do exactly that. So we're covered. Yep.
Any other members of the public that wish to speak this evening on this matter? Seeing none, would the petitioner's representative, Mr. Boutte, wish to use any time in rebuttal?
There's really not anything being offered in the way of a rebuttal. We're perfectly comfortable with the requirements and agree that stormwater needs to be managed on the site, and we're moving forward in that direction.
Thank you. Does that raise any other questions from the board? Seeing none, the matter now rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve a variance from AMC 2108-030F.6A? Don Porter, would you like to state your motion?
Yes. In case number S12438, Upland Subdivision, I move to approve this submittal with the department recommendations. Approval for the variance, we'll start with that. Cul-de-sac to exceed the minimum length of 600 feet for a cul-de-sac measuring approximately 810 feet, 9.99. subject to item 1, recording a suitable plat within 24 months of approval.
Thank you. And that motion has been seconded by Valerie Ritz. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, staff has demonstrated that there are a number of reasons why the special circumstances and conditions should be approved, including grade and that it is consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, and there are special reasons why it should be extended that way, among other reasons.
Thank you. Any other findings the board wishes to offer? Kevin Cross.
I'll also be moving to support the variance. I would like to note on page 9, this is just an extension of 440 feet, and that this lot offers some pretty significant topographical challenges to the west, where there is not a reasonable connection onto Price Lane. And therefore, in previous in Platting Board decisions, we've supported similar motions.
Thank you. Mark Seward.
Mr. Cross pretty much stated what my intentions were. The topography, the alternative access is very limited, so this is really the only access to this property, and it makes a very reasonable subdivision out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would make the findings that the variance won't have an effect of nullifying the intent and purpose of the subdivision regulation and comprehensive plan. It's consistent with the design in the area. Undue hardship would result from strict compliance because there's no other access to this particular development area. Undue hardship would result from strict compliance with the subdivision restrictions, and those are the bases for granting a variance from the code. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the variance from AMC 2108050 requiring construction of curb and gutter and pedestrian facilities and lighting? Don Porter, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, in case 12438, item B, approval of a variance from AMC 2108050, improvements requiring construction curb and gutter, pedestrian facilities, and street lighting, subject to item 1, recording a suitable plat in 24 months.
Thank you. And your motion has been seconded by Kevin Cross. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I agree with staff's recommendations that the improvements will not have a nullifying effect on the intent and purpose of the subdivision. It's consistent with the rest of the subdivision and paving that's already occurred, and it has passed through the municipality's process for review on this. And I intend to support the motion.
Thank you. Mark Seward. Kevin Cross?
I would also like to note that in the staff packet, it notes that there was support from the public for the removal of this variance. So generally speaking, there may be a negative pushback from the public regarding the reduction of curb and gutter and street lights, but actually this was supported by the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing and hearing no opposition, the motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the plat for 24 months subject to conditions 1 through 9 on pages 12 through 14? Don Porter, would you like to state your motion?
Yes, in case 12438, as you noted, approval of the plat for 24 months with items 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, 5A, 5B, 6, 7, and 8A, B, C, and 9A.
Thank you. And Kevin Cross has seconded your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I intend to support this motion. They have reviewed the necessary agencies and gotten a particular comment They have also extensively reviewed the drainage requirements, given that there were concerns on this lot about drainage. There are 2 notes that will be specifically appropriate to that, and making sure that there's adequate outfall and drainage compliance. So I'm satisfied that they have covered the concerns.
Thank you.
For approval.
Any other findings? Kevin Cross.
I'll also be voting to support this motion. Again, just to reiterate, the concerns from the public, and rightfully so, dealing with a development of a parcel of this size with this steep of topography is always falls back on drainage for the most part, and then occasionally excess issues. But I will note that there is 2 pages 13 and 14, that specifically have pretty aggressive requirements from the developer. They all have to deal with drainage. And we typically only see a couple notes and maybe a paragraph, so 2 pages that specifically address what's going to have to be done regarding drainage is a little more than we see by a large margin. So, and if you look into those notes on pages 13 and 14, I believe the public's concerns are being addressed adequately. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. And we have received the 2019 Board and Commission's calendar. I think our next hearing is scheduled for December. Are there any persons waiting to be heard tonight? Seeing none, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and the meeting is now adjourned.